Welcome everybody to our stream of Tsuro for the Digital Tabletop Fest hosted by Steam. We are so happy to be part of this wonderful celebration of how tabletop or analog games are spreading their love through a digital format. And we couldn't have a better game to play today to share that love with you, because Tsuro is one of the most approachable, beautiful, fun games around. And as you will see, the digital tabletop version is top notch. My name is Suzanne Sheldon, and you may know me through being a member of the Dice Tower Network. I am one of the 4 co-hosts of the Dice Tower podcast and do some live streaming and digital plays. I've been talking about digital tabletop apps for actually 7 years now. And I am so pleased and honored to have a few amazing people with me to play against today. Fingers crossed, I think I'm the underdog here. But let's start off with Ray. Let's start off with you.
Sure.
Say hi, Ray.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be here.
And Ray, can you tell everybody what you do with Gariepy?
As much as possible without getting yelled at. No, I'm actually the owner and president of Gariepy Games. And I do just about, I'm the master orchestrator. How's that? I don't actually design anything, but I actually put all the pieces together and get them out the door, get the games out the door. And the most challenging thing that I have from day to day is just making sure that the games are actually getting in the right hands of people playing. So that's why we're here, right? To show the game.
Awesome. And we also have Chris Leader from Gariepy Games. Say hi, Chris.
Hi, how are ya?
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am the director of fun at
Best
Gariepy
title
Games. Thank you very much. I'm a game designer. I'm the director of fun at Gariepy Games. I like to make goofy videos for gaming, and basically I just really enjoy the games that we make at Gariepy, gateway filler games, and so being able to help develop those things and get them in the hands of players is a dream come true for me.
That's awesome. And finally, really one of the main reasons we're even able to play this way today, we have Dan Taylor from Thunderbox Entertainment. Hi, Dan.
Hey, hi everybody. Yeah, that's right. I'm Dan Taylor from Thunderbox Entertainment. I'm the design director here. I say design director, but I don't really direct it. I guess it's just me. We're a very small boutique studio. And we have made it our aim to search out the finest board games in the land and take them off the tabletop into the digital realm.
And you do a fabulous job. In fact,
You're going to make me blush, Suzanne.
Pardon?
You're going to make me blush, Suzanne.
Oh, well, hey, I've got a lot of experience in this stuff. And, I mean, after all, Tsuro is just one of the board games that you've managed to bring into the digital world over the last few years. But I am, and we'll have to talk about the Tsuro sequels one of these days as well, because
a lot of people have been asking us about that. Yes. Yeah. We get a couple of emails every week about Tsuro of the Seas.
Evil grin here. So let's get started. I mean, we'll just chat. Let's play a game while we chat. You know what I'm saying? We've got a 4-player game set up here, and one of the things that you're not seeing is the variable player pawns. So if you've got a copy of Tsuro at home, or if you've seen a copy of the physical game, you'll know it's gorgeous, and it has these really delightful player pawns in a wide variety of colors, but they're kind of sophisticated. And one of the great things about digital apps is that you can play around with details like that. So we are going to play in rainbow mode, which brings a little bit of extra pop of color. But if you have the physical game, you're like, wait a minute, I don't have pawns that look like that. That's because, hey, we're playing digital mode today. And let's see, I will be playing the purple pawn. It looks like, Dan, are you the green?
I am the lime green pawn, Suzanne.
Okay, and Ray, you are...
I'm the winner.
And we've got red there. That must be you, Chris.
Ray was very upset
red.
that I was the blue pawn in the last game.
Excellent. And, I think that the great thing, one of the many great things about Tsuro is that the rules are really, really simple. We're going to be playing tiles that have paths, and we'll be following those paths. And the last player standing is typically the winner. If we bump into each other, that's game over for those individuals. And that's really the whole game. Lay a tile, follow the path, and we'll see how it goes. So why don't we get going with this? And guys, if you don't mind, I'm going to be pestering you with some questions.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, sure,
Do it.
All right. So let's start off with you. Gariepy has produced, how many games does Gariepy have out right now?
Oh, that's not fair.
That one, were you? Bye.
I would say probably 15 or 16 at this point.
That's great. And part of that was, I know that you had the Titan series, which has produced a lot of really fun kind of what we would call gateway games, including Rob Davio's Ship Shape, which was the winner of the 2020 American Tabletop Awards Casual Game of the Year recently.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Congratulations, you guys.
Rob Davio's Ship Shape is a fantastic game.
And personally, it's a personal favorite of mine, except there's a lot of yelling when we play because we get very, very into it. But tell us a little bit about that Titan series. What was your goal with that?
It's really interesting because gamers, as a whole, when they want to bring people into it's their hobby, right? They want to bring people in and play games at a level that they are currently at, right? And so a lot of newer players at that point then become intimidated by the different styles of games. Okay, so what we wanted to do with the Titan series was to create a gateway game series for gamers to actually take advantage and play games that were designed by their favorite designers to introduce their friends into their hobby, right? So with the Titan series, we basically, they're all Gariepy style games, meaning they all have 3 to 5 rules. They all play with 15 to 20 minutes, and they all play 1 to 6 players, sometimes up to 8 and 12 players. Mine plays 12, and they're all by really well-known designers like Rob Davio and Mike Elliott. We have Richard Garfield. Yeah, the list is spectacular, right?
Well, and I can add, let me add to that too, that the designers, a lot of times designers can get pigeonholed a little bit. Rob talks about how he was doing legacy games quite a bit, and he was looking forward to, doing something new, being able to do Ship Shape, or for Richard Garfield, being able to publish Hive Mind with us, when he's known for Magic and King of Tokyo. It allows designers to flex a different muscle, and that can be really exciting to a designer, whether it's being given a challenge to design something outside of your comfort zone, or dusting off a design that maybe you started but you were like, I don't think anyone's ever going to want to publish this game by me. It's a pretty exciting thing to be able to work outside your comfort level like that. So I the Titan series did a great job with that.
Now,
it's so much fun. The series itself.
Yeah, and how many games are in that series?
So there's currently 9. We're working on the last 3. So when it's all done, it'll be 12. We had to combine 2 designers, into one game, right? We just weren't able to make the individual games gel, and so we had the great opportunity of working with Matt Forbeck and Mike Sellinker, and they're both working on a single game, which is going to be a role-playing style game that is being written around Monster was done by Matt Forbeck. So we're really excited about that. Can't wait to get that out out in front of everybody. But that's going to be a little over a year down the road before you actually see something. So you heard it here first. I probably shouldn't have said anything, but I did. So there you go.
Steam exclusive.
Yes, that's right. Spoiler alert here on Steam.
Love it. We got to celebrate our digital tabletop fest, and announcements are a great way to do that. So Chris, listening to you talk, it's pretty clear that you are, along with your role of director of fun, you sound like you're speaking from a game designer's point of view as well. And I know that you've been nominated for an award for your work on the Back to the Future game, which is so cool. And, you know, working with a licensed IP, especially for something like Back to the Future, which is just so popular around the world. Was that a movie series that you enjoyed too? And how is it different working on a game for a property that exists versus just designing a game like Roll For It, which just kind of didn't have any ties directly to a specific setting you had to use?
Oh, I've got some thoughts here, but before I say anything, I want to go ahead and pull this move off
It's
and
looking
get
tight.
Ray out of the game.
Oh no!
Oh no, you didn't! There you go.
Sweet payback.
Don't forget your elimination bonus.
So swap my tiles, then tap the deck to proceed. So I have swapped and taken. So here's the thing. My wonderful boss, Ray, who I just eliminated from this game and who I'm sure is going to dock my pay for it. Ray is, so the thing about Calliope is we do have a specific set of criteria for the games that we publish. We want to accommodate a bigger group. We want to make sure the games are fast and don't have that many rules. And Ray has been wonderful over the years, understanding that as a game designer, some of my designs aren't going to be right for Calliope games. I got my start with Calliope through Roll For It, which was a Calliope game, but there's many designs I do that are 2 to 4 players, and we don't typically publish any games that are 2 to 4 players. So Ray's always been really good about letting me kind of, stretch out and work with other publishers to get my designs out there. The other thing Ray knows about me is that I'm a huge Back to the Future fan. I am a nut when it comes to Back to the Future. I've got the movies memorized. I have a working flux capacitor that's signed by Christopher Lloyd. I have.
And by working, you mean you can
I'm
time
actually
travel.
from the future. I'm back here
Right.
talking to you. Is what I mean. I hook it up to my bicycle and I ride it up to 88 miles per hour. But
Chris, you're getting a little close to me here. What's going on? Oh no, Dan, that's you.
It's
You're
me.
green. Watch
Yes.
out, Dan.
I'd love
Yeah.
it. I'm going to be over here in this corner while you guys just do that.
Yeah, a little dangerous over on the left-hand side of the board.
But yeah, with Back to the Future, Dice Through Time, Ravensburger, I worked with Mike Mulvihill on one of the Titan series games, actually. He did Everyone Loves a Parade for us. And so I got to know Mike, and he's just a wonderful guy. And he works for Ravensburger, and he had reached out to me well before this and said, if ever there's a game that's right for you, would you ever think about doing this? And I said, well, I have to make sure it's okay with Ray, but sure. And he reached out to me about this idea that they wanted to make a Back to the Future game. And he said, would you be interested in pitching this? And he solicited this to a lot of different designers. And what I came to understand later was multiple people said to him, have you asked Chris Leader? Because they knew I was such a crazy Back to the Future fan that this would be my dream come true. So, yeah, and so we, me and my friends Kevin Rogers and Ken Franklin, who Ken did the Mansky caper for us for Calliope.
He's also the voice of the Admiral in The Captain is Dead.
See, it's a small world, right?
Available on Steam soon.
I'll come over here and be part of this party. I felt all by myself. So we worked on the Back to the Future game together, and Back to the Future Dice Through Time came out this past summer, and it was everything I could have hoped it would be. I mean, we made a cooperative game. It was just everything I love about the trilogy we put into that game, and so I'm really proud of it, and I feel incredibly blessed to have been able to make my dream game. And that was my brass ring IP to work with, and to be able to do it was just incredible.
Okay, I'm in a little trouble here, I think.
Chris, you pulled a really nasty move.
Yikes! This is not good.
Well, you're giving over Back to the Future.
Sorry,
Why are you going to murder everyone?
Was this friendly mode? I thought we were playing for PLCs.
There you go.
But I am, after all, a Tsuro professional, so I'll
See,
make
got
it
it
through.
covered.
Well, nice move, Suzanne. You managed to escape nicely.
Yeah, she's in a great position right now.
Yes.
And one of the things I love about the Tsuro digital implementation is the light streams. And the game, this is very much, Dan, I think one of your approaches for your games often is, if you look at the digital version and you look at the physical version, you see how they're connected. And not all developers take that approach with their app of a physical board game. But one feature you can do in digital form that you can't do in a physical form are these light trails that are really gratifying to see and help track your progress, and they're really delightful to see that kind of spaghetti. So Dan, how did you get started in this? Have you been aboard? It's such a niche thing. Like, why making board games digital?
So I've been making video games for over 20 years now, and one of the hardest things to do when you're making a video game is to find the fun of the game and find something that's got like a really cool mechanic that's going to hook players, that's going to make your game pop out from the rest of the audience. And there are so many phenomenal board games out there that have already got this hook. They've already found this amazing fun. I thought, why don't I just take those and kind of become like an ambassador for these great games and digitize them so they can reach an even broader audience. And that's kind of what prompted me to start Thunderbox, I think, 6 or 7 years ago now, maybe, about that. And Tsuro was our first game, and I'm secretly pleased for it. Incidentally, the little light trails that are in Tsuro, they are based on a photo somebody took and posted on Board Game Geek with bits of wool behind their their stones, and I saw it.
Yarn,
and I thought,
as we would say in the United States.
Yarn for people on the other side of the ocean. But I just saw it and thought, oh yeah, that'll look good in the video game. So yeah, thanks whoever you are that did that photo.
Well, that's quite clever. Wow,
Very nice.
I've never played that way. I might have to pull out some yarn and snip some links to try my next physical game of Tsuro. That would be a lot of fun. So, Ray, just jumping back to you. Now, you haven't been in board games for your entire career, right? I mean, Gariepy hasn't existed quite that long yet.
No.
You had an art gallery before this?
Yeah, I actually owned a lighting company, an art gallery. Then we went to WizKids. So I when I was at the art gallery, when I had the art gallery, I was approached by my brother-in-law, who is Jordan Weissman, right? And at the time, he was the creative director for the Xbox, and nobody even knew what the Xbox was because it hadn't been released yet, and it was still all top secret stuff. And he had come up with the idea of the combat dial for playing miniatures games, and we were in Las Vegas during his birthday. And the thing about the art industry is that nobody buys art because they have to, right? People buy art because they love it, and they really, really would like to have something adorning their walls or the counter space. And so we were very blessed in that the art that we were selling was all very high-end artwork, but it was very high highs and very low lows, right?
Sure.
And I drove my wife absolutely nuts, right? So when we were talking with Jordan, he said, well, I have this great idea for miniature games. And he said, I want to do something with it, but I don't have a sales guy. Would you be the sales guy? I said, sure. So for a good year and a half, I worked out right down the street. The WizKids office that we opened up was actually across the parking lot from where my art gallery was at, right? And so I would go back and forth between the two, and we started WizKids. So Jordan actually pulled me in with my wife's blessing, right? And that's how I got into gaming, right? And so he always tells me, he says, well, you're the one that wanted to get into this stuff. So I actually love it. Being at WizKids, I came to realize that what I didn't know was that gaming is, to a lot of different people, way more than just a form of entertainment. And when you find how it really touches people, it gave me goosebumps, right? And so being able to help kids who have learning difficulties, bringing families together and all that kind of stuff, it just really, really put me over the top. And so when we started up Calliope, one of my major, what I really wanted to do was put people around the table.
Well, bye-bye, Suzanne.
Yeah, I couldn't make it work. I tried.
Yeah, you were kind of stuffed. All I've got to do now, though, is just stay on the board longer than Chris.
I know. And well, the board's getting quite tight. And one of the features, Dan, that I really like on this is that when you can preview a tile, you can kind of see the paths. For people that have spatial reasoning challenges, sometimes games like this can be a little harder for them to play, but the app version really helps that along and lets you kind of see how tile orientation will impact your move. And it's a feature of the app I quite enjoy.
That was a suggestion from one of our users after we launched. They said, you know what, you should do this. It would make the game a lot easier to play. I was like, well, yeah, thanks.
Well, and that's one of the great things about this is when you're playing the physical game, you can take the tile and kind of hover it out there and kind of turn it and see.
Yeah.
You know, it could be really difficult in an app or in a game, digital game to accomplish that. And so I thought that was just a brilliant solution to being able to kind of, simulate what you would do in real life when you were playing.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, in my games of Tsuro, I remember like picking up a tile and you're kind of squinting and twisting it and contorting yourself to preview the path, and inevitably you make a mistake and end up off the board. But that's how it goes. So, Ray, as kind of in your role, selecting what Calliope is going to do is part of that, and I know that game
Just you, Chris.
I can outlast you by one.
I feel like board games and analog games have grown in popularity over the last couple of years and gotten a little more known. Oh, I see this. Oh,
Chris won. I'm going to start a rematch very quickly. One moment.
Yeah.
All right, you do the rematch. We'll play again. You guys can all gun for me.
Yeah, and we'll play a different game mode. We can do loop. We can compete to see who gets the most loops.
With the growing popularity of analog games over the last couple of years, I've noticed that there are a lot of people who want to design games. They're inspired by all of these wonderful games that they're discovering. And as people that are new to the industry or trying to figure out how to break in, they're looking for advice from designers and from publishers. So because Calliope is in that kind of sweet spot for games that are approachable and really accessible, what are you looking for? What advice or what information are you looking for from game designers for Calliope?
Sure. So before I jump into that, I'd like to make one recommendation to designers, right? Which would be before they actually go out and pitch a game to a publisher, that they understand where their game would fit into their catalog, where they would fit into their offers. So I think that's really, really important in order for the designer to be successful within that different, within the publishers themselves, because they may be wasting their time if they're showing a game that publisher has nowhere in their lineup for them. So that's the first thing I would say is, know the publisher and know where you fit in with that publisher. Right now for Calliope, there are very specific things that we're looking for because we know what we really want to do, and that is to bring new players into our hobby, right? And so with them in mind, always, we understand that, anybody can hold on to 3 rules. They understand, 1 rule's no problem, 2 rules, 3 rules, that all good. They get to that 4th rule, they start getting a little shaky. The 5th rule, that's when their eyes roll up into their head, right? So for us, the number of rules that are actually in the game is really, really important. And if we're going to have more than that 3 or 4 rules, we need to know that there's a hook there that the player can actually grab onto to naturally get to the rule itself. And so that's the one of the very first things that we're looking at.
Ray, do you see how Dan gave himself a self-looping tile?
He did.
I did.
Yes, I did that. I was looking at the code while you guys were talking. I looked at the code. He did that himself.
How
he actually
convenient, Dan.
he wrote that into the code.
It's all skill, all skill.
You'll notice he'll have a lot of those little loops on the edge of his tiles. Yep.
Anyway, Ray, you were saying.
Yes. So no, so the number of rules is really important for us, but also fitting into that consumer's lifestyle is really important for us. So knowing that we can entertain from 2 to 6 players, that we can play within that 40 to 50-minute time slot, right? And that the games are all, when they're done, $40 or less, right? We prefer to be at that $30 price point, or under. The last thing that I think that really separates us from a lot of different publishers out there is that we really focus on the players and the age of the players. So all of our games are actually intended for adults, right? But we want all of our games to be actually playable by children as young as 8, and in a way that they can play and compete without the adult throwing the game. And so our games are not games for kids, but kids can actually play and compete. And I think that that's really important.
And as a mother to 2 young children, I can attest to that. I've been playing Roll For It with my son since he was 5, I think. And he is perfectly capable of winning that game on his own without any help from me. So
well, I'll say Ray
has
said something. Ray's always said a very substantial thing that always stuck with me. He said that with most games for the kids are going to play, the adult has to step down into the world of the kids game. But with our games, we're asking for a child to step up into the grown-ups world to try and play the game. And most times, because of the way our games are built, the kids are able to do that and actually enjoy themselves. And then no one has to come to the table feeling like, oh, I got to play that game again. So we really want to make sure that it's an enjoyable experience for everyone where they're playing on a pretty, even playing field. And that's why a lot of our games will have some sort of a bit of luck to it. There's luck mitigation, but there's also something that allows, whether it's dice or something that evens the playing field a little bit for people.
Yeah, that's one of the things I particularly like about Tsuro as well, because there's a lot of strategy and skill in it, but there's enough luck in terms of the way the tiles will play out that like a young novice can beat somebody who's quite skilled and experienced in the game. But you still don't feel like the luck is working against you.
So, and if you're a programmer developing the app, you can ensure you always get the self-winning tiles.
Let's see how that works. Look at that.
I got another one of those Lucy tiles.
Look at this. So, Chris, I mean, hearing you speak about that, then from your perspective as a game designer, whether you're designing for Calliope, whether you're starting for a licensed game like Back to the Future, how do you start on a game design? What are you thinking through?
I get asked a lot if when I design a game, does it start with the theme or does it start with a game mechanism? And I have the answer changes for me depending on what I'm doing. So there are some times where I'm like, I really want to make a game based on, Back to the Future, it was obviously the theme came first. But for some games, I want to do something new or different with something like deck building or rolling dice or whatever it might be. And so I'll design around that and then come up with something. And usually as I'm designing that thing, themes will pop up into my head. But it can be really liberating to make something that works, that's totally vanilla, has no theme to it whatsoever, but that you can imagine some amazing themes for it. So I just go with whatever the inspiration is, whether I want to make a game based on some theme or whether I want to make a game based on mechanism.
To that point, right, we've actually come up with themes for games and the mechanics in advance, right? It's like, oh, we want to make a game like this. And we've gone and changed it completely from something to a different, right? Because what we started out with was a really good idea, right? But it became a better idea when we did it under a different.
Well, I mean, you think about Tsuro Phoenix Rising, it was just it was crossroads. It had no real theme to it. It was just, it had these really cool different Tsuro tiles, and it was in playing that the idea that the tiles in there have a side that actually is diagonals. They go out on the corners, the paths. You see all of these tiles here only go out to the sides. Well, those have ones that go out to the corners. It was a much more freewheeling feeling. And so as we played it, we thought, well, you're like a bird, you're like flying. And then we realized that, I mean, you look at underneath the tiles we're placing right here on this board, there's a phoenix. And we realized we could be honoring the legacy of Tsuro by actually making it a phoenix game. And it just fits so perfectly, so that game from actually playing the game before it ever had a theme.
All right, so I don't know if I'm going to hit many loops here. It's getting a little snug, but and I mean, with Dan rigging the situation here, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah,
but
it's a little bit of luck and lots of skill. What can I say?
So
but bear in mind, to be fair, I must have played about 30 games of Tsuro every day working on this.
I bet, so, I believe it. So how did this app that we're playing now come together? How did Thunderbox and Gariepy say, we're going to make this happen?
Okay, so this happened probably about 8 years ago. And I got the idea to do board games. And Tsuro was my favorite, obviously. I thought, yeah, I can see how this would make a super cool app and like a digital version. So I made like a little demo with like half the tiles, and it was only one player, and you can make a path. And it had that opening the box and everything. And I said, okay, we need to get this over to the guys at Gariepy. Like, who is it? And Jules went, oh yeah, Jordan Wiseman. He's a friend of a friend. Why don't you send it to him on LinkedIn? I'm like, oh, okay. So I sent this demo to Jordan by a friend on LinkedIn, and I didn't hear anything back. So about 6 months later, I was like, no, well, clearly they're not interested. I'm going to have to come up with another plan. I'll just ping them quickly just to double check. So I pinged them. And Jordan got back to me right away. He was like, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot about this because I was really, really busy. Let me have a look at it right now. He had a look at it. Dan, this is amazing. I want you to get on a meeting with Ray, have a chat, and we'll take it from there. And well, we got on I think we got on quite well on our first meeting with Ray. He seemed like a nice chap. I don't know. We ended up making the app, and then we went on to do Roll for It as well, which was also super fun on mobile. And that was it. Really, just made a demo and got it in front of the right people.
And so, for us, on our point of view, right, it was that it represented the board game, which was really, really important because there's a lot of apps out there that they are board games, right? But they don't represent the game itself in its entirety. It's, where here you're opening up the box, all the pieces come out in front of you, so that is really, really important to how we're doing this. And the other thing that was really, that we really liked about this, and even with Roll for It, it even comes through a little bit stronger, is that when you're out at a restaurant, you can play in a mode where you're passing a single device, right? Mm-hmm. And actually play the board game on a smaller platform. And so that was really, really intriguing to Gariepy. Yeah, and the relationship's been great. Granted, Dan is a great designer.
Dan, did you run out of loops for yourself, Dan? Is that why you're not going?
Actually, Christopher, I do have a little loop like that, but it will take you straight off the board.
That's okay.
You got to do what you got to do, Dan.
I know. Well, I feel that you guys are complaining about me cheating, so I'm going to be nice. I'm not going to play my little loopy one. I'm not going to take Chris off the board, but I am going to place everyone apart from Suzanne in serious jeopardy.
No.
All right.
Okay with this.
Sometimes it's more fun not to play to win, but to play to mess with people in this game.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I played the tile that I needed. Let's see here.
Something's going down.
So I've played board games since the 90s. I've loved tabletop and analog games for just decades now. And I have a pretty big collection, and Tsuro's in it. And Tsuro, actually, it's interesting because I tend to like games that are longer and take a little bit of time, a few hours, and have way more than 3 to 5 rules. But Tsuro does keep on coming out because we call it a nightcap game for our group, right? It's
That's
the kind of game that you're not done with the game night. You don't want to disperse quite yet. You want one more game, but you don't want to go on another 3 hours. So it's like, well, let's play Tsuro. All of us, because it's got a high player count, can sit down and there's no setup time. We can relax and wind down over a game of Tsuro. So now I know we call it that because we're really deep into board games and that kind of thing. But I think the other term that we've mentioned already is gateway game, right? Tsuro feels like a gateway game, and it meets all those criteria, Ray, that you talked about of making it approachable for new gamers. So beyond all of those, what are some of your favorite gateway games that you've enjoyed, either that you've published or maybe even ones that you haven't? And really, this can go out to anybody, any of them.
Yeah. So personally, right? Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites. But we did a game by Mike Mulvihill a number of years ago. It's actually one of the very first Calliope titles that we did. And what?
You're thinking about your move?
We've lost him. He's like, how am I going to get out of this? What's going on?
He just realized, oh no.
No.
Well, and Dan is cackling because he knows he has the most loops. So even if everyone collides,
no, I like the idea that
a single one yet. So
I like the idea, Suzanne, that you're the last one on the board, and you just go around and get like 15 loops, and Dan can't do anything to stop you unless he.
That's right.
Unless he
playground now.
Oh, look at this. I make one nice move and Ray takes it straight off. Thanks, Ray.
Hey, that's okay. I love you, man.
I've changed my favourite gateway game. It's now Pairs by James Ernest.
Yeah, which is a great game.
This is a phenomenal game.
Well, guess what?
So we're both going down.
Oh, look at this.
All right.
So Ray, you tell me about your favorite gateway games.
Yeah, so Seth Johnson, right, did a game for us called Double Dominoes, which I absolutely love. It's just a fantastic game. And then if I was going to back that up, other than roll for it in the other, if I was going to go outside of the Calliope catalog, I would say there's a game that we did many years ago, and I don't even know what it's called. Pack and Stack. Yeah, great little game, lots of fun. Again, it's a 3-dimensional game where you have to do a little bit of thinking of what you're doing, but I love the game, absolutely love it.
That's a good one. How about you, Chris?
I believe that some of my gateway games are ones that everybody knows, but honestly, they did their job with me. So Ticket to Ride and Carcassonne, I think, are probably the games outside of Calliope that I've played with people the most. And then after that, it's probably...
a good train game?
I do love a good train game. Oh boy, and that's one that Ray didn't even tell you. The other gateway game that he loves, which is Station Master, and we got the rights to make that game, and Ray made a beautiful new version of it that's about to come out. But yeah, I think the other one for me would be Forbidden Island, because Forbidden Island was my first foray into cooperative games, and I had never ever had a game like that before. So I know Pandemic is another one out there, but for me, I've played Forbidden Island with complete, newbies to gaming, and they've absolutely loved it.
Yeah, me as well. All right.
I've just started another game, by the way. If you want to come out and go and come back into a game, this time it's the longest path wins. So this is another digital mode, which you'd have to be quite dexterous to score in real life.
Okay, I feel like this is my game. I feel like I got this one.
All right, it's all about the leg.
All Alrighty. So anyway, but Dan, you were gonna tell me a little bit about what does the digital app add on top of the physical version of Tsuro?
So first of all, one of the most important things when we do a digital edition of a game is that we work out what brings that awesome fun to the game, and then we do not mess with it. Right? So like the natural fun of the game should shine through in the digital edition. But then on top of that, we always try and do something that you can't do in the standard, I like to say real world edition, I suppose, or cardboard edition. So we've got AI opponents that you can play. You've got 3 different levels of AI. You've got AI that will play just to survive. You've got AI that will play to win. And then you've got AI that will play to stop you winning. So that's kind of fun. Obviously online multiplayer. And there are 2 multiplayer modes. So you've seen Loot Battle, and we're going to play Longest Path next. But there are also 2 solo modes. So Chris kind of talked about Fuse mode. But Fuse mode is an extension of what I call solo mode, where you play with 1 stone. You just have to make the longest path possible and the most loops possible. And this actually came from the original demo that we did for Jordan to kind of pitch to Gariepy. And people kept sending me screenshots of their paths saying, I've got like 400 meters, beat that. I've got 400 centimeters. I've got 500 centimeters, beat that. And it was like for something that we just done as a quick demo without all the full functionality, just that basic mode was oddly compelling. So we decided to keep it in as a feature because people seem to be having fun with it. And you can compare your score online. And we're running a competition this month, actually, for October. If you've got the mobile edition of this app, you can share your Fuse mode score on Twitter, and the highest score every week gets a copy of the game. Or if you already have the good taste to own a copy of Tsuro, you can have a copy of Tsuro Seeds. Compliments of Thunderbox. So yeah, do check it out. But now I'll make my move. And Ray, in an extremely cheeky turn of events, has put his stone right next to me, which means he gets free movement.
That's, in this case, 3 centimeters.
But now you're going to have to repay the favor, Raymond.
Well, and see, that's a very specific move to make, right? So since you all, I mean, certainly Dan, I would assume you are some of the most experienced Tsuro players in the world. What tips do you have for people?
Well, I can give you like my tips. To be honest, I'm pretty sure that Ray and Chris have got more experience with this than I have. But I usually try and avoid everybody. And if I can stay at the centre.
Play with the wrong group, man.
Yeah, I've got more kind of like possibilities to move around. Great, but if I can't, just avoid everyone.
Well, then get out of my area. You're stuck here.
That's Ray's fault. He's messing with me.
Got it. Chris or Ray, do you have any other big tips on Tsuro, or is it just send a prayer up to the gods and hope for the best?
So here's the thing about Tsuro, this game, right? It's actually a game of skill. And what makes it a game of skill is there's 35 tiles and 36 positions to play them in. All 35 tiles are unique. So once a tile is actually played, it either closes a door or opens one up. And so if you actually understand what's in front of you, it's kind of like using chess pieces in a chess game, right? So if in Tsuro, it's territorial. And so understanding how much territory you have and what you can actually do with the tiles that you have in your hand will definitely give you an advantage. So the more you play and the more you understand what the tiles can do for you, the more skill that actually comes into the game. The really nice thing about it is everybody can follow a line, right? So you don't have to have that detailed thinking to actually enjoy.
All right, Dan, what are you going to do?
Sorry, I was enthralled by Ray's tips.
Make a good choice here, buddy. Make a good choice here. Don't make me mad.
It's going to be long. But you see, if I do this move, I'll give Suzanne some extra path, which I don't want to do too much. So it's got to be this one.
I mean, I know there's a scenario where you could put a loop in front of me, and I would be very upset.
All right. We've already ascertained that I'm not that kind of guy.
We'll see.
I'm putting good karma into the game. That's my top tip for winning.
Aww.
Dan, you mentioned that you talked about building an AI and solo mode and all these other features that you did, but you didn't mention VR. What's up with that?
Oh yeah. So we were approached by Oculus a couple of years ago. They really liked the app version of Tsuro, and they said, "Have you considered making like a VR version for Gear VR?" And I was like, "Not really. Like mobile VR, it doesn't sound like it's going to be great." They said, "Well, don't worry. We'll send you a Gear VR so you can try it out. And if you're interested in developing it, great. If you're not, whatever." So fine. So he sent me the Gear VR, and I thought, as he's been kind enough to send to me, I'll check it out. It's going to be rubbish. So and I put it on, and I was amazed. It was so good. The VR experience you could get, just not sticking a phone on your face. So a couple of weeks later, I had a really bad version of Tsuro, up and running in VR. And it was terrible. It made you sick. And
I thought you were going to say a couple weeks later you took the headset off.
Yeah, probably. I mean, like, the lawnmower man at the end of the movie.
Your wife's like, take a shower.
She's like, I don't believe it. But yeah, so where was I? Yeah. So, but then, like, other projects came up, and I think 2 years passed since that. And the reason I kind of left it so long is because if I was going to do something in VR with Tsuro, it had to be unique, it had to be special, it had to bring something to the game. And then I went to Oculus Connect when they announced Oculus Quest, and I played super hot, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing! You can walk around, you can dodge bullets and stuff. It's like, how can I bring that level of fun and immersion to a board game? And originally the plan was to have you all sitting around a table, like a lot of the VR board games do, whatever. And I thought, no, I'm going to make the board 70 times bigger than it is in real life, because Tsuro is all about space and paths and shapes. So the bigger it is, the more you can immerse in there, and it becomes a different experience at that scale. And you can actually, we put it in a Zen garden, and you can actually climb the temple buildings to get a better tactical view of the game. And then we've hidden game pieces in there, so you can unlock new stuff by exploring the garden. You can buy animals, all sorts of stuff like that. So we really wanted to do something that kind of like wraps you in the spatial gameplay of Tsuro, and I'm fairly pleased with it. People seem to like it.
It's legit. It's really fun. The VR version is cool, and you can jump from rooftop to rooftop and look down. And
VR version also available on Steam. And you can get the VR version and this version in a bundle for a discount.
Well, what do you know?
Yeah.
Imagine that.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. Yeah, sorry. I'll stop being hard to down now. But Papa needs a new pair of shoes.
No, we when I have people play the Tsuro VR, they're blown away because they're used to Tsuro has an elegant simplicity to it. And so does the VR version, but it's much more grand. I mean, there's just a scale to it, but it still feels zen-like and peaceful. But there's more of a grandiose feel to the entire thing. It's just, and then there's little mini things you can do that I'm not going to spoil, and things to find, and it's just really, really a fun game to play. And you know, this peaceful music you hear when you play the Steam version, you hear in the VR, and it's. I can't say enough good things about it. It's a really fun implementation of.
I'm also going to give props to Ray a little bit as well, because I didn't have to do a lot of convincing to get him to get him to allow us to significantly change the Tsuro experience. I was like, Ray, I'm thinking of doing this. It'll look a bit like this. And he goes, yeah, whatever, Dan, do what you like. We trust you. I was like,
you need. So I don't do VR. So what do I need if I wanted to play Tsuro in VR? What equipment do I need to have?
Tsuro is available on all good VR headsets, including Gear VR, Oculus Go, Oculus Quest, Oculus Rift, and Steam VR. So if you've got any of those, you can play.
It's almost
sorry, I'll stop with the hard sell. Stop, Dan.
That was extremely, extremely well said. Like a little bit of practice with that one, I think. Huh?
Right?
Yeah, I wish I practiced it, but it's in a sinister twist. I didn't. It just came out.
Well, Tsuro has been a board game for 15 or longer years now, right?
Yeah.
It's been around since 2004.
2004. Yeah.
Woo. That's amazing. And honestly, anybody who's familiar with the board game industry knows how few games can stay on the shelf and still be talked about and still be played 15 years after their first release. So I think that speaks really highly to Tsuro's staying power. And, the app, quite frankly, has been out for a long time. I remember when I first covered the app in 2016.
You were one of the first people to chat about it.
You wrote a review on your Friendster review of it was great.
Friendster review? Come on, man. Oh, jeez.
Man, I love what you did on MySpace for it.
But when we think about longevity, I think Tsuro, both in digital and in physical form, has really proven its staying power. But what I think is impressive is just like you were talking about adding the solo mode or even adding VR, you're continuing to invest in this. And whether it's different takes on the Tsuro formula with Tsuro the Seas and Phoenix Rising, or whether it's adding new features to the app. So what's in the future for Tsuro? There's a game that's been out there for so long, but continues to have legs. Are we seeing anything with the physical version, or are we seeing anything new in a digital version?
So we've just done, I think this month, we've had 3 different versions of Tsuro published. So we had an update to the mobile app, which had a fused mode. We had the Oculus Quest version, and this version, which is available on PC, Mac, and Linux as well. And it has kind of frazzled me a little bit. So we're going to be taking a little break from Tsuro, but we'll be back. Be back in the future, no doubt.
Fair enough.
Tsuro 2000.
Yes.
So on the physical side, we have 2 different products that are in the works right now. It's still going to be a little bit down the road before they come out, but they are very different from what's out there right now, and I think people will be really excited when they get them in front of them. So, yeah, it keeps growing. It's right. So
I love that. That's
stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. That's exciting. I'm glad that you're continuing to invest in the Tsuro line, because I think it's been such a rewarding line for players out there to play. Because when I think about, board game apps that are...
Don't do it.
I don't know.
Oh, no.
Oh, Dan took me out. Rage quit.
Finally, I've got my revenge.
Yes, you did. I'll give it to you.
Let's see. Whose turn? It's Ray's turn? Okay. I'm a little nervous about Dan's turn. Let's see what happens here.
All the
Ray,
parts
like a pro.
that of equal length, though. My money's on Chris.
I had that nice big loop.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of real estate over there for Ray.
How many symbols?
I've also just I made a tactical blunder on my last go.
We'll see how this goes. We're getting a little snug.
Oh, yes. That corner's not feeling so good.
Meanwhile, Ray's just over there.
Yeah.
I know
Look at Ray's smile.
He's got miles of daylight in front of him.
Yeah, Ray can just mop everyone up afterwards.
Okay, I have another. I'm really holding my breath on this move because make good choices, Dan.
So with this mode specifically, there is a slight alteration to the rules that is kind of hidden. So usually it's illegal in Tsuro to make a move that will take yourself off the board if you can do another move.
Right.
Except in fuse mode, in longest path and loop mode, once the deck is out, you can take yourself off the board, because a lot of people complained that there was a move they could do that was illegal that would get them a massive score. So, I think in the code somewhere I've described it as Blaze of Glory rule.
Nice.
Where if you can go off with a big score, you can do it in these modes.
You know what? That's fun should be the paramount thing. That should be the thing that is above everything else. So that's fantastic.
Well, I think Ray's having fun.
Yeah, and he'll be having fun long after we're dead and buried here. Apropos of nothing, do you know the original name of Tsuro when it was pitched by Tom McMurtry, the designer? I know Ray knows, but do you guys know?
Yeah. I don't know, actually.
All right, Ray, go ahead.
Squiggles.
Squiggles.
Was it Squiggles with a silent T?
I like
Yeah.
it.
Squiggle.
Yes,
We had
Suzanne.
a couple of years ago at Gen Con, we actually had a glass display case with all of this Tsuro history stuff, and it had the original Squiggle prototype that was given when the pitch happened. And it had like a 1950s car with people waving, smiley people, clip art kind of thing. Came a long way.
So where
It
does the
really,
Japanese
really did.
aesthetic come from?
What's that?
Where does the Japanese aesthetic come from? I'm assuming it's Japanese.
Yeah, so my sister Dawn and the team at WizKids, right, the creative team at WizKids, which was Shane and Kathy Small, right? They actually, with the goal of putting the game into bookstores and coffee shops, right, came up with the Tsuro thing, right? So we wanted a much more sophisticated look, and but we wanted it to be very Zen-like, you know. And I think they did a great job of pulling that together, for sure.
For sure, yeah. It's super chill.
Now drop your dang tile in there and
Yeah,
wrap
yeah.
this thing up, will
And
ya?
this humiliation, Raymond.
I'm surprised you didn't go on like some lengthy diatribe. Let's talk about the colors in the game while you wait for me to win this thing.
Oh, look how it's flaring, and you get the slow-mo.
Ray wins.
Yeah, Ray wins.
Shocking.
Oh,
Look at that.
right, mineral margin. And to add insult to injury, you won using my technique of staying away from everyone. Thanks.
I guess you have a good
your
tip. You had a good
patented
trick.
way of winning.
So yeah, I'll take some of the credit for that.
That strategy will be in Dan's new book called The Skill of Tsuro, and
Yeah.
skill is with a T before skill.
Yes, obviously.
Available in a digital form on Steam next month.
Coming soon to be out.
At least we had fun playing, right?
Yeah,
That's always the thing. If I had to win games to like them, I wouldn't play any games. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, my wife would disagree. She thinks that I'm a massively sore loser. But I tell her, like, I don't mind losing, but I always play to win.
Fair
And she
enough.
says, no, that's the same thing, Dan.
Well, guys, that was a lot of fun. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for
Yeah,
playing.
really good fun. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
I
And
really appreciate it.
everybody for watching. We hope that you enjoyed this pretty in-depth look at Tsuro, the digital version here on the Steam Digital Tabletop Fest. I think Tsuro is such a phenomenal example of how you can bring the physical into the digital and make it a really rich experience that you can sit around, and no better time than now to discover ways that you can play with your friends over a digital format. So you can, if you don't have Tsuro yet, you can pick it up right here on Steam. You're welcome to. There's also a mobile app version for iOS and Android if you want to play that way as well. Quite frankly, I love it on my mobile app. It's a great game to just chill when you're waiting in line or something like that. So another great implementation there.
There's
So,
always
Chris-
the tabletop group.
Yeah.
Nobody plays tabletop games
That's what I was going to
anymore,
ask. So Ray and Chris, for people who want to know more about Tsuro, any of the Tsuro games, or any of the Calliope games, where should they go to check them out?
they can go to
Calliope.
www.calliopegames.com. They can always stay all of the latest news is on our Twitter feed, so at Calliope Games. We're on Facebook as well, and we're on Instagram with gorgeous pictures of all of these fancy games. And then your friendly local game store and Amazon, you can pick them up there too. So anywhere you want to play Tsuro, we've got Tsuro for you, whether it's on your computer, your device, your table. Tsuro's everywhere.
Yes.
And Dan, of course, Thunderbox has other wonderful games on top of Tsuro, so I'm assuming that they can check those out on Steam. But where can they learn more about what Thunderbox is doing?
You guys have already had a good old play on The Captain is Dead, which is going to be our next game. If you
The
like
Captain is
Tsuro,
dead?
The Captain is Dead. It's a totally different thing. It's literally a noun for something completely different. The Captain is Dead. So yeah, there's a demo available on Steam. So go check it out.
Awesome. So thank you everybody for joining us for this playthrough, multiple playthroughs of Tsuro. Enjoy your digital tabletop fest. Get out there, check out more of the streams, find more of these awesome tabletop games that have made it into the Steam world for you to play at home. I hope you enjoy them all. And I assure you Thunderbox will be back with more content for their games very, very soon. Take care, everyone.
Yes. Bye-bye.